Hello everyone, my name is Elle and I am the host of the Mage system. Today, we're going to be talking about the things that no one tells you whenever you're starting testosterone. I have some skin in the game when it comes to testosterone. I've been on testosterone, I've been off testosterone. I've tried half doses, I've tried full doses, I've been on gel and injections. I know a thing or two, and I've experienced different side effects that I didn't expect to experience. I've had things that I expected would happen but didn't happen as much as I hoped they would. I've experienced things that I really liked about testosterone and things that I really hated about it. So I just wanted to make this video just saying some of the things that I wish people would have told me can happen or will happen, or the things that people do kind of say might happen but they don't talk about it enough, because some things really did take me by surprise. And so I wanted to make this video and kind of educate you guys about that if there is anybody out there who's considering starting testosterone or is starting it soon. So we're going to talk about it. This is a topic that is very dear to my heart. So I'm going to be really real with you guys today and just tell you some of the things that, because there are probably going to be some things that are going to happen that you're not happy with. That's just the nature of starting any new medication or doing any new thing, is that there's usually a downside that you don't like. And so I just want to help you guys to be prepared for that. And if you've already been on T, maybe you'll relate to some of these experiences, or maybe you'll have some of your own. So anyways, gentlemen, non-binary people, trans women, or cis women, you can watch this too. I don't know what you'll do with this information, but we're happy to have you along for the ride. I'm just going to jump right into it. So whenever you're kind of looking forward to starting testosterone, or you're kind of planning it or considering it, oftentimes what will happen is you will get these videos in your feed of these trans guys that are usually white, conventionally attractive, skinny, and they get on testosterone and it's just so graceful and smooth for them, and their voice drops at 3 months and sounds like a cis man's, and by the end they're just beautiful men, okay? And they're just cis passing so quickly and early on, and you're just like, wow, this is so exciting. I cannot wait for this to happen to me. This is going to be great. There's that mindset, and then oftentimes there's also a second mindset you'll have sometimes where there's a fear of unwanted side effects, and it kind of makes you nervous about starting it. And I definitely had some of those fears, and some of them did come true. I'll be honest with you guys. And I feel like not a lot of people talk about it. So I thought I would just go over some of these. And this video is probably going to be pretty long. I'm going to try and not ramble too much, but there's a lot of ground to cover here. Basically, the goal is to strike a balance of between both being prepared for what honestly could happen in terms of negative side effects without spiraling about it and without letting it stifle your excitement for starting testosterone. It's good to be realistic without letting anxiety get the best of you. The first time around when I started T, I started experiencing a lot of side effects that I didn't like, and it eventually led to me stopping it for a year where I assessed what I really wanted. I basically was like, I can't do this right now. I may start it again in the future, maybe in a few years, who knows, life is long, but right now I can't do this. And it turned out that I still needed in this life to be on testosterone, and that it still needed to be a part of my life. And I felt better prepared this time around, and I knew what to expect. I knew how to plan around it, I knew what to do, I knew what to tell myself. But we're going to go through each thing that I experienced that no one told me about, or they did tell me about, but not in full. I'm on T now. And I feel the best that I've ever felt about myself and my appearance and my role in society than I ever have before. That's the main thing I don't understand about transphobia, is if someone's transitioned and they feel better than they've ever felt ever, then I really don't see what the fucking issue is, frankly. But yeah, also, if you're transphobic, go ahead and take your best stab at writing the comment you want to write. Please do. I'm not coping, I'm not being sarcastic right now. Try it. It's so funny to me. It makes me laugh so hard. It genuinely brightens my day when I see like a transphobe try to do something. We've heard it all. You're not special. But go ahead. Please try. I will delete it right after reading it, just because, I have trans people in my audience and I don't need them seeing that. But it really is a pleasure. Also, I appreciate non-transphobic comments too. Also, this is an introjection, but I wanted to say it a little earlier in the video. I started a Patreon where I upload an unedited video every week, where I talk about stuff that's oftentimes more personal or more the stuff that I can't talk about on YouTube. So that works with my schedule more because I'm just a lot more busy and it's hard to upload weekly anymore. So there you can see more of me if you want to see more of me. And if you want to support me right now while I'm in school, yeah, I'll talk about it more at the end. But yeah, thank you. Also, another disclaimer, I'll try to use the best language, like, people with estrogen as their predominant sex hormone and people with testosterone, because, there's going to be a lot of discussing, like, you know, different aspects, like what's your predominant sex hormone? What were you raised as? That kind of thing. And I might end up inevitably saying men and women as a blanket statement sometime, but you know what I mean. And I'm obviously not trying to disclude anyone. It's just kind of the language we're conditioned to using. So I hope you guys can understand. But I'll do my best, of course. Before I started testosterone, my single biggest fear, I think, was that I was going to be ugly. Because when you're raised as a girl, you're very conditioned to believe that being attractive is very important. Because if you're a chopped man, there's still, like, you can still be the funny guy, or you can still be really fucking smart or something like that and do something with yourself like that. If you're a chopped woman, no one gives you a chance. So you're very conditioned from the time that you're little to think, I can't be ugly. Like, that can't happen for me. And as a woman, after I kind of went through puberty, I think I would say, like, not to toot my own horn, but I think I was a decently, like, conventionally attractive as a girl. Like, I had pretty good body proportions and my face wasn't awful to look at. So I was really scared, though, that I was going to start testosterone and I'd be an ugly ass guy. And if you go, like, online and you kind of talk about this fear, a lot of trans guys will be like, oh, don't worry about that. Like, you'll be fine. But let me actually tell you, there was a period for like 6 months when I was on testosterone where I would declare myself, in fact, chopped. I'll throw some pictures in. I just was not looking my best. And the truth is, it is possible to not look as good as you did before. But there's a lot of caveats with this, okay? And I need you to listen up, okay? The first thing is that it's completely temporary. Boys in puberty aren't always graceful, and a lot of them look like complete meatheads for a while. Like, if you went to high school, and you recall walking around, there were some boys that their puberty was going great for them. Their skin stayed clear and it wasn't super oily, and their hair stayed looking good, and their proportions evened out relatively smoothly. And it was just smooth sailing for them. They didn't have an awkward stage with their voice or anything like that. And then there were some guys in high school who were going through puberty and they just looked like total ghouls, right? Their face was bloated, they had acne, their hair was greasy as shit. Like, that's just your genetics to an extent. Obviously, taking care of yourself helps a lot, but to an extent, your genetics kind of determine how smoothly puberty is going to go for you. And a lot of times you are awkward and you are chopped. And that's just kind of a fact of life. So just know that if you start testosterone and you feel chopped, sorry, I know I sounded like I just learned the word chopped and I'm using it as much as possible. And low-key, that's kind of the truth. It's temporary. It's completely temporary, and it's going to go away at some point. So just be patient, ride it out, have some endurance, and you'll get through it. So that's the biggest thing I learned. When I got off testosterone and then I restarted it a year later, for some reason I didn't go through the less graceful phase again. For some reason I stayed looking all right. I'm not sure the exact reason for it, but I have some ideas. I don't know, maybe my body just decided, okay, you did your time. But there's some other things, because here's the main reasons why it can make you look a little bit rough for a while. The first thing is that you might get some water retention in your face. Testosterone just increases your water retention everywhere, and that includes in your face. So your face just might be more puffy all around. Now, this can be a good thing, actually, because it does make you look quite a bit more masculine to have a little more mass here and stuff, as opposed to just having, you know what I mean. That can look pretty masculine. I mean, I'll throw some pictures up of my face before starting testosterone, You tell me, doesn't it look a little more masculine to have a little bit more here? But I felt like I had too much at the beginning. So it was really bothersome for me. But yeah, this one's temporary. This one will go down eventually. But my biggest advice for managing it in the moment is drink a lot of water. May sound counterintuitive, but look up how much water you need in a day and drink that and then some more. Drink a lot of water. Honestly, you should be drinking a lot of water anyways. It's extremely important. Your life will change. Don't eat a ton of high sodium meals. Listen, I admit this to you with shame, but for a large portion of the time that my face was had that much water retention, I was in fact eating fried chicken and fries every day. Okay? That's just the truth. And I imagine that the high sodium really did not help with that. So the second thing that can kind of make you look a little rougher is acne, hormonal acne. Some will say acne will help you pass more, and that is absolutely true. It can help you pass more. But you have to admit to yourself at some point at what cost. We'll get into this a little bit later, but take care of yourself, like maybe passing makes you feel good, but having a lot of acne can also kind of make you not feel good too. So pick and choose what you're doing to pass, you know what I mean? But yeah, get some skincare. I'm sure you can do your own research. It's very important to take care of yourself, whether you're trying to transition or not. Take care of your skin. Take some tinkering to get a skincare that works for you, so it can be a little frustrating for a while. And if you're tried a lot of things and it's still not working, there's no shame in going to the dermatologist and asking for some additional help. If it bothers you that much, it may not bother you. Again, I feel like this whole section is going to sound terribly vain because it's so focused on appearance, but the reality is a lot of people care about the way they look, even though looks aren't everything. So yeah, it's not a big deal to have acne, but the fact of life is that it does bother a lot of people when they have acne, and it bothered me, and it still does. Even though I have Patrick Bateman levels of skincare right now, I still have acne. And then the third thing about acne is you can still wear a little bit of makeup. Okay, listen. Now, if you watch a lot of FtM passing tips videos, a lot of them will say, don't wear makeup at any cost. If you think it looks natural, no, it doesn't. I'm here to tell you right now, gentlemen, or otherwise masculine people, you can totally wear makeup and make it look real. It just has to be pretty minimal. The guy saying this, it's a toupee fallacy. You can't know if someone's wearing makeup if you can't tell that they're wearing makeup. But I have a little bit of concealer over some pimples. You can still see that I have acne, but I added a little bit of concealer so that it was a little less apparent. And that makes me feel better when I go out in public and nobody ever fucking notices. It's just true. I also fill in my eyebrows every time I go out in public or film. No one ever notices that either, and it only helps me pass. Just, be careful when you're wearing it if you don't want it to look like you're wearing makeup, but you totally can wear makeup, and don't let it give you dysphoria, man. Okay? The fact that you're trans means that you have an opportunity to not let toxic masculinity get to you. You have an opportunity to know better. You do know better. You know that it is okay to do these things. So, just remember that, okay? And then this is one of the biggest parts of this section, okay? Being attractive is mostly taking care of yourself. It's not a whole lot of, there are a bunch of celebrities that you can think of that don't even have that conventionally attractive facial features, but people like them because they have a personality, they're confident, and they take care of themselves, and they have nice skin and nice hair, etc., etc. It's just taking care of yourself. And your facial features are the same facial features, and you can't just become ugly forever. That's just not how it works. And also, the same facial features that make women attractive make everybody attractive. Pretty boys are always in. That's just kind of how it works. I hate to break it to you. Also, if you feel like you're chopped as a girl, those features can also look good on you as a guy. You're only going to win here, okay? Trans men, they're attractive. Let me tell you what. But yeah, do not take care of yourself just to pass or feel man enough. I know a lot of men are 3-in-1 ghouls, but what's great about being a trans man is, again, you know better. Yeah, you hear a lot of complaining from a lot of people that are attracted to men of like, men don't take care of themselves. It's so bad. You have an opportunity to be the exception. I mean, every man does, but you're more in the know, So the next section is another fear a lot of transmasculine people have before starting testosterone, and that is hair loss. A lot of us have, hair loss genetics in our family, and we're worried about losing hair ourselves. This is a thing that's similarly worrisome for a lot of cis guys too. Oops. Luckily, this is completely preventable and completely manageable. I mean, I don't want to say an across-the-board statement. I'm sure there are definitely people who either can't take these medications or use these interventions, or for some reason they're just really unlucky and they didn't work. But mostly it's pretty preventable. So there's two main medications that people will tell you for preventing hair loss. So in terms of me, the main reason I stopped testosterone for a year is because I was already experiencing some negative things that I didn't know how to deal with at the time. But then I started noticing a little bit of male pattern alopecia, and that really sent me over the edge because a few years ago, I got this condition called telogen effluvium where a bunch of my hair fell out and my hair got really thin and I was wearing beanies all the time. It all grew back afterwards and I never had any problems after that, but it did give me a fear of hair loss. So my hair was falling out a little bit here in the temples and then also a little bit on the top of my head, but that could have just been my hair masculinizing a little bit, because there's a difference between a little bit of hair falling out because your hairline and stuff is just masculinizing a little bit, and that you're actually experiencing early onset male pattern baldness. There is definitely a difference. But yeah, there's a lot of, science is great and there's a lot of interventions for this nowadays. There's DHT blockers, first of all, which is honestly one of the most commonly recommended things. This you have to get prescribed, but it's pretty easy. You just ask whoever's prescribing your testosterone to add some of these on as well and say you have a history of male pattern baldness in your family. But DHT blockers, so testosterone, part of it when you take it gets converted to another type of testosterone called DHT, which mainly functions to make your hair fall out for some reason. Your body was like, you know what we need? Some of your hair to fall out. Right? So DHT blockers basically prevents that testosterone from being converted to DHT. And whenever I restarted testosterone the second time, what I did is it takes DHT blockers 2 months to work. The main one people use is finasteride. I don't even know if there are any other ones, but people use, it's called finasteride. And so I started taking it 2 months before I started T. And, I was only on them for a few months when I was on T, so I didn't really get the chance to see if they prevented my hair from falling out, but it probably would have, because finasteride is a pretty effective medication from what I know. It's pretty effective, and it also seems to not have a lot of side effects. However, I stopped taking it because I was kind of worried that it was preventing other changes of testosterone from happening, because I just felt like I wasn't experiencing changes as fast enough this second time around. So I eventually stopped taking it. Whether that's true, I can't be 100% certain, but I do suspect that DHT also does cause other changes other than just making your hair fall out. And I do suspect that in some people, taking DHT blockers might block other changes. I don't know. All I have from this is not any study, but just some posts on Reddit. So I don't know. But instead, I started taking minoxidil, which is the second medication that a lot of people recommend. And minoxidil, there's two forms of it. There's topical, where you apply it directly to the areas that you want to prevent hair loss or grow hair. And then there's oral, which you would have to get prescribed. The thing about minoxidil, it doesn't stop your hair from falling out. It causes hair to regrow where your hair did fall out. So it doesn't interact with your hormones at all, I don't think. A lot of trans men also use this for putting it on your mustache or other places on your face to make hair grow. It takes a couple months to work. There's a few pros and cons with the method of taking this. Topically, I don't like taking it topically for a few reasons. The biggest of which is that if you have dogs or cats, especially dogs or cats that ever lick your face or just sit on your pillow or anything like that, this stuff can be pretty toxic to them. So if you're doing topical, it's really not a good idea if you have pets like that. I think it may be especially bad for cats. I'm not 100% sure. So that's one reason to not use it. Also, it's just a fucking hassle, isn't it? To have to put like this oily alcohol smelling stuff in your hair. And when you're worried about your hair falling out, you don't really want to touch it and examine it twice a day. And you just have this stuff in your hair, and I don't know, it's just not fun. Also, it can cause discoloration, so if you're using it on your face, like a couple hours later, there might be an orange spot where it was. You can kind of wipe it off, but oral minoxidil is much better, and I assume it's just as easy to get as DHT blockers. You just ask the person who prescribed your testosterone. I don't think there's any huge risks to it, but again, do your own research on these medications. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. But minoxidil, the thing about taking it orally is that since it's not targeting a direct area, basically you'll just start growing hair everywhere. Basically anywhere that you already grow hair, besides maybe like your eyelashes or something, there will be more of it there. So my legs are super hairy. The testosterone and minoxidil went straight to my legs. My legs are so brick, dude. I mean, could have done more for the voice, but thanks, I guess. But yeah, makes you hairy everywhere, which may be a plus for you, and probably is on average. You probably prefer more body hair and facial hair and stuff. But you know, some trans guys would rather not be as hairy, so that's something to think about. I know for hair loss, some people also use other things. I think peppermint oil, some people use that too. But yeah, finasteride and minoxidil are the main things people will recommend to you for that. But hair loss is completely preventable. There's usually things you can do. So the next thing I want to talk about is libido. So if you don't want to hear me, Elle from the Mage system, talk about my personal experience with libido and sex drive, you can skip to the next section. I'm sure I put chapters on this video. I also might talk a little bit about corn and just, you know, stuff like that. I don't know. So I try not to get too explicit or anything, but I do think this is a really important topic, and I never really seen anyone else talk about it like this. But yeah, it's no secret that whenever you start taking your testosterone, your libido increases. However, whenever I was pre-T, I just assumed that it would just be an increase of the libido that I already had, when that's not really the case. That was not the case at all. That's not how it worked. Now, this is just my experience. It may work like that for a lot of trans people who take testosterone, but didn't work like that for me. So it might not work like that for you. I always thought pre-T, you know what? I think men and women are just as horny as each other. I think that it's just different, you know? It's just different, and society's more oriented towards men's type of libido. So they think men are more easily excitable, but really they just want different things a little bit. And I do think that is kind of true. But it's definitely more noticeable, I think, when you're testosterone pilled. Like, if you'll notice, when you have like a group of 14-year-old boys, or, you know, testosterone people, and 13 or 14-year-old girls, or estrogen people, you'll notice that the girls will be much more interested, like whenever they find a boy attractive, or a girl or whatever, they'll often be focused on, oh, they're really cute. Oh, I really like I really like these individual things about them. Like, or whenever you see an attractive person at the store in public and you're like more estrogen dominant, it'll often be like, oh, that person's so cool. I love their tattoos. Like, that person's so cute. Oh my gosh, right? But whenever you have testosterone as your predominant hormone, it's a little bit less about specific people and a little bit more about body parts, if I'm being frank with you. Like, think about how often you see like men, whether they're gay or straight, being like, man, I could really go for some X body part right now, versus how many women you hear saying that, you know? And think about how, like, as teenagers, a lot more girls have like intense celebrity crushes, and they'll have their celebrity crushes their background, and they'll have like a fan account of this, you know, K-pop member or something like that. And you don't see near as many teenage boys doing that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely does. Okay, there is a lot of crossover here, but just there is a little bit of a difference. Okay, whereas, you know, teenage boys are just like, duh, like, I don't know, they just want to get laid. Like, they don't really care that much, right? I personally think that the estrogen version is a little more fun, because it feels a little more connective. Like, the two sides, the two hemispheres of your brain, because that's how the brain works, right? There's a horny hemisphere and a non-horny hemisphere. Those two are just more connected. You're just like, you understand each other. You know what makes you tick, and it's not always a directly sexual thing. Like, wow, I find it so attractive when this person rants about their interest. You know, it's just a lot more connected. Whereas when you're on testosterone, it almost feels like your sex drive is like a separate entity, which is why I think corn addiction is so rampant in young boys. You don't even realize how rampant it is, but it is. You know, we've all grown up on the internet with just completely unfiltered access to what content we're ingesting. And there are plenty of, you know, people socialized as girls that also have this problem as teenagers, or have had corn affect them in other negative ways. It affects everyone in a terrible way when you're watching that as a teenager and as an adult. Obviously, a lot of it is socialization too, but I think that is one reason why teenage boys often have these addictions, is because they suddenly, all of a sudden, have all of this, like, you know, energy in their body, and they don't know what to do with it, and they don't really know that much about themselves yet in that side of their life. And so the only thing they can direct it at is content like that. And whenever you're a trans man, coming into yourself as a trans man, you may not really understand yourself in that way either. Because I know that it took me quite a while to figure out how to see my identity as a sexual being as a woman. That took me a long time because, you know, I was just raised in a highly sexualized environment, and I was watching corn and like as a preteen and teenager, because that's just what you did. Like, that is just what you were socialized to do, whether you were a boy or a girl. But I had to whip out a freaking hammer and nails and build my sexuality from scratch, and actually figured out what I actually wanted on my own. And it took me a long time because of it. So I had to start over and do that again as a man. And that was really hard. And I wasn't completely prepared for it the first time I started testosterone. So suddenly I have all of this, like, you know, energy and libido in my body. And I don't know how to, and, you know, if you don't have a partner or anything like that, I don't know how to channel that in a healthy way. Basically, what I'm saying is just make sure that you have some outlets prepared and healthy ways to cope with it. Because I do personally believe that 99% of corn is unethical. I think there is such a thing as ethical corn, but most of it isn't. Like, major corn sites, not good, not ethical. Production companies, that stuff, that's just not, you know, you want individual content creators that are posting and hosting on their own kind of thing, you know. There are other outlets too, and just be very mindful with things, because that was kind of weighing on me the first time I was on T, is I really didn't know what I was doing, and I was just kind of flailing around, and I felt bad about it, and but I'm good now. After I took that year-long break, I really learned how to understand myself in that way and see myself as a guy more, and just there wasn't that dysphoria element of, how am I supposed to sleep with someone and feel like a man, you know? That eventually went away, and so I didn't feel like I needed that crutch anymore. If you have a partner, this will probably be a lot easier for you, because duh. I know that's very personal, but I have never heard a trans guy talk about that before. And I think especially if you have a lot of dysphoria or you have trauma or something like that, you may be more at risk of not really knowing what to do and end up falling back on things that maybe you shouldn't. The second thing is my mood and my state of mind. Now, I would say that testosterone has changed my mood and my personality to some extent. It's kind of hard to tell, because it's kind of just like, what is due to just life changes that are changing how I feel, and what is the testosterone? And also, is it just the fact that the act of being on testosterone and the fact that I'm experiencing masculinizing changes, is that just making me feel better? And so I think my personality is changing and becoming more confident, but it's really just that? Or is it the effects of the hormone directly? And I think it's a bit of both. Because objectively, I don't cry very much anymore. I do not cry very often anymore. I'm not sure what the science behind that is. Like, if anyone knows, please comment and let me know why people on testosterone or testosterone predominant don't cry very much, like on average at least. I mean, obviously there's outliers to all of this stuff, but you know, I'm not sure the actual legitimate reason for that. Another thing that is interesting about mood is that I feel like whenever a stressful situation is going on or something, I'm in the middle of something, like something just starts happening, like say I'm hanging out with a group of people and somebody comes up to us and starts harassing us or something, right? Before testosterone, I might have been more like anxious about it and like not knowing what to do and a little more shaken up. And now whenever I'm in a situation like that or just a stressful life situation, my brain more goes to, what do I do? Like, I have to do something about this now. What do I do? And that can feel really good because it's like, oh, I'm more solution oriented and I'm taking charge of the situation and I'm getting things done. But it can also suck sometimes because you feel a lot less introspective and you feel a little more out of touch with your emotions. Men totally have the ability to be super in touch with their emotions. And I think that the majority of it is societal stuff that pressures you not to be. But I do think testosterone does play a little bit of a role. I'm not going to lie. That does suck, but there's definitely ways around that. Just make sure you're staying in touch and checking in with yourself and staying in tune with your body and sit with yourself sometimes and just think like, all right, man, has anything been, you seem a little tense. Has anything been bothering you recently, you know? But yeah, sometimes it sucks not being able to cry because it, you know, as much as you crying seems like it sucks on the surface, it does provide a release. And when you're on testosterone and you can't cry, you don't get that release. And it does kind of suck. And crying can also just be a good signal of, I'm really overwhelmed right now and I can't handle this. And when you can't do that, it's like, how else are you supposed to like kind of communicate? Like, I'm really overwhelmed and I can't, like, you can say that, but oftentimes people don't get it because they're just like, okay, whatever. Well, you're clearly able to communicate for yourself. And so, like, yeah, this video was getting long as hell. So I went ahead and stopped talking, but I do have more to say about it. So maybe I could make a part 2. But yeah, basically that's it. Also, I started a Patreon. So, as you guys probably know, I said I was gonna upload more in the last video, and then I did not do that because school got crazy, and then also I'm in a bachelor's program right now, and then I'll get into a master's program eventually, but that's kind of competitive to get into a good one. So I have to do internships and other stuff like that so that I look really good. But then that also means that takes a lot of time. And I like to put time and effort into the videos that I make. However, I know a lot of you guys are willing to just listen to me talk without a lot of effort. And I really appreciate that. So I decided to start a Patreon where basically I upload one video a week of me just talking, and it's unedited and unfiltered about whatever's on my mind, whether it's psychology related or life stuff related or even just a recent hyperfixation or something. And I figured you guys would kind of appreciate that and enjoy it. So a lot of it might, because it's not on YouTube and less people are watching it, a lot of it might be a little bit more personal than I usually share on here. And some of it may be stuff that I can't talk about as much on YouTube because it gets censored more. So there's that. I'm very excited about it because I do like making those kind of videos, but I just feel like they're too low effort to put on YouTube. So yeah, it's going to be $5 a month. I don't really make any money from YouTube videos. If I upload weekly, I make like maybe $100 every 3 months. And I'm not pulling any money anywhere else right now because I don't have time to work any jobs or do any side hustles. So I'm basically relying on my savings to do everything, which I'll be fine. Like, I'll definitely be fine. But, you know, it helps if you have, like, it helps with gas and groceries and stuff. I don't know. I don't really expect many people, like, even if one person gets my Patreon, I guess it'll just be you and me. But yeah, and also we can just talk more. Like, there'll be more community there. Thank you.